guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to New Gardcity here on City Skylines. We're not doing live stream or any kind of that stuff like that anymore. This is a time-lapse video, as you might have already been able to tell. Either that or I'm really getting good at playing this game at speed. No, it's a time-lapse video. And basically this series is going to move over more towards conventional videos now. Sometimes there'll be a stream of some kind still, but it'll be mostly this kind of format from now on. I think it works quite well considering, and this time-lapse thing, I'm not a huge fan of doing time-lapses on projects and series like this, because I like having that kind of live feedback, which you wouldn't otherwise get when you make videos like this. However, for this particular build, I felt like a time-lapse was the way to go because of what this project actually entailed. So today we are building a harbour, a massive harbour, a huge freight terminal built right here on the sea. This is the Gardcity Gateway Terminal, as the name will probably have given away by now. This is the main sort of import-export area for all things ship and train based. There will be a cargo hub at the airport. I have got that ready to go now. I've got some assets on the workshop that are going to be very helpful for creating that. But for this project here, this was suggested, in fact, who did? I think George suggested it, thinking about it, and a couple of other ideas have been pitched in by other people along the way, but I really wanted to build something big and grand and just massive in this location. So I thought, why not build this huge cargo container terminal type thing? And there's good and bad things that have come from this. The good thing is it works. It's functional. I see a lot of people build these big terminals in their cities, which look very nice. Don't get me wrong, but don't function. And that to me is the sort of key criteria for building these things in your city. Is they have to have a purpose. You can't just exist for the sake of existing. And not everyone does that, so it's a personal frustration. I'm not knocking what they're doing at all, to each their own and all that, but personally I wouldn't do it like that. I would build something functional, so that's what I wanted to do with this, and I'm pleased to say that this area is entirely functional. I'm going to use that word a lot. And you see these little container things I'm putting down. I didn't actually realize at the time that they can be used for storage, so you can actually have little warehouses set up, which is kind of cool. I've got one for farmland, one for ore-based products, and then I've got a couple for goods. I've got one for luxury goods, I think, which you can't import, you have to make in your city. So I'm guessing we have some facilities that do that, because I'm sure I've seen it fill up with something or other during the time. The one downside to this, by the way, is the traffic. You'll see how the traffic has affected all of this in the next episode, because the next episode, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know what the next episode is, I suggest you mute the video for the next few seconds. But the next episode is fixing the traffic that this new build has caused, and that in itself is a whole project, which it's still fun. Don't get me wrong, it's always going to be fun, but boy, trying to fix the traffic issues. I've had traffic issues in City Skylines before, but this city so far has been relatively good in that respect, and then suddenly to have this massive traffic issue, it was a bit of an eye-opener. It's mainly caused by what you're seeing on screen right now, this rail link that I'm adding in. I had this really cool idea to have these rail lines snaking through and looking really awesome, and it does look awesome, don't get me wrong, it does look very awesome, but it just caused so much traffic. So I've gone some ways to fix that, and again you'll see in next episode some of the lengths I've gone to in order to fix that, and I'm very happy with the outcome, so I'm not too displeased by all of that. And you can see here I'm just starting to build the road layout for this part of the terminal. I'm trying to think of another name for it. I guess terminal is probably the best way of describing it. This big empty area at the back here, originally I was just going to put like cranes and cargo containers and stuff like that, but then I thought, why not actually make it fully functional and have this be our new industrial area. So I was already planning on decommissioning Shoreham Industrial Park, which is just up on the top left corner of your screen whenever I zoom out, and it's outdated basically. That part of the city is very much outdated and badly needs replacing. So that will be happening as part of this project. So this is kind of hello to Gardcity Gateway Terminal and goodbye to Shoreham Industrial Park. The road layout of Shoreham, again, I actually talk about this next episode because I've already recorded it. The road layout is kept, and it'll be repurposed as as residential and a little bit of commercial. So you can imagine like it's old factories and old mills that have been converted into housing, which is something that's happening a lot in the UK these days, and I think that's a really cool thing that's happening. I mean, lots of London these days is repurposed from the Docklands and from the old wharfs that used to be around and things like that. So it's gentrification, I think, is the word, and it's awesome to see. It's really weird actually looking back, because I've had this build done for a while now in real life, a couple of weeks, and I've been constantly watching it. So as far as I'm concerned, this project is old now. It's old hat. But to actually see it being built again on screen, and particularly by the time you guys see this, of course, it's still new to you. Even though for me it would have been around for almost 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, give or take. So it is really weird to kind of see it being built again, because it was kind of a blur when I did it. I recorded all this while I was ill, which is another reason why it's a time lapse, so I could take breaks if I needed to during the recording. And yeah, it was just it was a good project. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed building it. You know, it was a good way to sort of help pass the time, because believe me, I was getting bored out of my mind not being able to do anything for 3 weeks. You know, I used it as a good excuse to take some time off and to reflect on things, and you know, to focus on my health. But at the same time, I miss my work when I'm not doing it, and people always get confused when I say that, because I moan about my job a lot. Believe me, I do. And it's not, you know, it's not because I'm ungrateful or anything like that. It's just, it's a stressful job. I don't think many people realise just how stressful this job can be at times. And I'm not trying to put other people down for what they do, because trust me, I know there are way more stressful jobs out there, and I do not envy those people one bit. I deeply respect and admire people who, particularly right now, are going above and beyond for people like me. But it was nice to have the time off, but at the same time I was always thinking about what am I going to do when I come back, and this was one of the projects that I'd been planning out for a while. So again, just to sit back and watch it all come together on the screen like this, it's a weird feeling, but it's a good feeling, because there's little bits that I'm in fact there's little bits already that I'm watching it thinking, oh god, well, I would have changed that if I had the chance to do it again. Unfortunately, next episode I do have the chance to do it again, so you will see some things a little bit different between now and next time. But it's all starting to come together now, as you can see. You know, the little road layouts all joining up quite nicely here. I've had some good suggestions in the comments last week's episode, for example, fencing along the rail routes. That will happen at some point. At the moment, I'm kind of finalising the layout here before I commit to anything in terms of decoration, because I don't want to have to undo all the decoration and then redo it again once I've put the new stuff in. So that will happen, and I might need some advice on assets in which to do that. But I appreciate that idea. I think it's a good idea. It's always nice to make things look good. I mean, one of the things I used to be known for when I played Cities in Motion 2 was I didn't just build things that were practical. I built things that were practical and looked good, if I'm allowed to blow my own trumpet like that. So it's something I'd like to carry over into this, and I will be, as much as I can. Again, I'm just looking at this road layout and just thinking, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? There will be other rail routes that come down into this section of the city. There will of course be public transit, so the underground will be extended down into the area. I don't know whether it will be elevated or underground yet. I'd like it to be elevated. I think elevated will look really cool. That road there is a travesty. You'll see that get replaced next time. As well as, I mean, just I'm not good with Move It, as you can see. I love the mod. The mod's great. I just don't know how to use it yet. I'm learning. That's the main thing. I am learning. What was I saying? Oh yes, there'll be a passenger line, passenger rail route that will also come down into this area. The reason that will be a thing is there'll be a passenger line and a freight line that will run side by side right the way up to Guard Square through Guard Square. So if you look, if you're at Guard Square looking towards the railway station, the left-hand side will be where the freight line goes, and it will run alongside the station, avoiding going through the station itself, and then that will connect up to other parts of the city to help with freight flow. So for example, the line that currently runs to Plindom, that will get probably replaced with this new line. I think it will just be one single arterial freight route that runs through the city, which may or may not be a good thing. I don't know yet. I have watched to see what kind of rail traffic we have, because it's quite a busy area, this container terminal, and really the only reason that rail becomes an issue is because of those level crossings that you saw me place. Without those, I think it'll be pretty manageable. Here's me naming the area. So the suggestion was originally King's Gateway, which I did like, and again I explain this a bit more next time. I think King's was a really good name for an industrial area next to the docks, because this is going to be a huge, like this whole section of the city now, this whole section of the map really is going to be the industrial area. So we've got the farmland, which is kind of secluded on its own, but then you've got the ore area, which is just above where we are right now. And I liked the idea of having it all in one area, because the traffic flow might be a bit iffy going in and out, but at the same time, I think keeping it all contained like this will help with traffic flow across the rest of the city. And I will admit, even at its worst, the traffic flow was only 74%. You know, I hadn't dropped down into the 10s or anything, so it's still all right. I'm not complaining too much. It would have been nice if it was a little bit higher, maybe a bit closer to 80. But yeah, keeping it all contained and enclosed like this, I think, is a good idea. Because again, cities do have that these days. You kind of have an industrial area that's all one big area. Occasionally you have like science parks, which we have got as well around the city. But yeah, just keeping it all contained. For me personally, I think that's a really good way of doing it. And every now and then decommissioning an industrial area somewhere else in the city and repurposing it into residential, which is exactly what happens in real life. Just watching this as well, the way I did the water pipes here was not good. Anyone who's, you know, OCD when it comes to pipe placements, I can only apologise, because I used to be one of those people, and I kind of learnt to be lazy. And really I should be more proactive with it again, so I do apologise to those people. And some really bad wire placement here as well. Eventually it all gets powered up through the buildings anyway, so it's fine. We've still got a problem with fire. I don't know why. I put about 6 fire stations down in this area, and they still have buildings burning down left, right and centre, so I'm pretty sure that's just going to be a thing now. But again, the less buildings we have, the better the traffic flow, so it's not all bad news. Just wiring up the toll booth there as well. Having toll booths going in and out of the port was always part of the plan. It doesn't help too much in terms of fundraising. You know, we still lose more money than we make, as someone pointed out before. Toll booths are not a good money maker. It's just a way of controlling who goes in and out of certain parts of the city, really. But I kind of like the idea of having the toll booths for the port. This is the old industrial area being decommissioned, which caused a huge power problem down at the ore facility, so we had to fix that. The ore facility itself, now that there's more places to export products to, the traffic there was an absolute nightmare as well. So that was something that I had to fix off camera. You kind of see how I fixed it next episode. I show a little bit of it, but oh man, that was the number of iterations of projects I went through to try and fix that, and hardly any of them worked. It was very frustrating. This is me using the new Traffic Manager President Edition, which is awesome. There's some really cool updates they've put into it now. The user interface is a lot easier to use, and some of the features now, so you can just click on a road and it'll give you suggestions as to what you can do with that road, which is really handy. What else do they have that's also new? In fact, you can see I've got the little box ticked applied to the whole road. So before you would have had to have held shift, and it selects all the road pieces between those between 2 junctions. Now you can actually tick the box, and if you hold shift, it will do individual pieces. But if you just select a road, it will do the whole section between those 2 junctions. And I think that's a lot more friendly, user friendly, to actually have that option. Here's all that rail traffic that I was talking about coming through. I have had to take some rail freight train assets out because they were far too long for the cargo hub. So trains were sort of sticking out over level crossings when perhaps they shouldn't have been, which again was kind of annoying. And yeah, this road layout, I mean, you'll see me fix it next time because it's not efficient at all. I thought I was being clever by having a one-way system at a slightly higher speed and then have all these little crossroads at a lower speed. But at the end of the day, the speed difference wasn't enough for vehicles to go out of their way to follow the one-way system. And because of all the level crossings as well, it was just a huge gridlock in the center as trucks are trying to get from one cargo hub to the other, and there's also, you know, trains trying to get across, and there's other vehicles trying to get to and from industrial buildings. It was a bit of a mess. So I've fixed all that now as well with some grade separation, which again you'll see next time. Putting some speed limits here for the cargo hubs as well, and the rail. Just realism, really, keeping things realistic. There's one of those really long trains that was making my life hell. You can see already how that can be a problem. So I've had to take that one out of the equation. Anything with long in the name I took out. And there's a 12-car variant of the old Royal Mail EMUs that run in the UK. I had to take those out as well for obvious reasons. Far too long. 12-car in real life doesn't seem that big. Even though, I mean, it is still big, don't get me wrong. But to actually, yeah, to have it in the game is absolutely massive. If you're wondering why there's no buildings springing up yet, by the way, it's because I've got the realistic building mod. And I've deliberately set it so that things aren't constructed at night, which again is realistic. So, although it's bright daylight, you'll see in the bottom left corner it's actually just coming up to 5 to 2 in the morning. And that's why no buildings are being built. So the foundations have been laid. They're actual all buildings. They're all plots. In fact, you can see at the top there where there's no painted ground. The buildings are there, but they're not being physically constructed because of the mod, which I like. Again, I think that's a really nice feature. I'm a big fan of that. Stay tuned for all that waste disposal stuff there as well, because that changes next time out. And what else? We've got 5 minutes left. What else can I talk about? So yeah, King's Industrial Estate will be getting built at some point in the future. I think after next episode I'm going to go back to doing some more residential, because I've got a huge demand for residential that's popped up, mainly because of this massive industrial area that we've just built. Who'd have thunk it? So now I've got to do something about that, which is nice. And then after that we'll go back and do a little bit more sort of industrial again, and because it's basically a case of you give people somewhere to live and then you've got to give them somewhere to work, and that's where we're at. So we've got lots of places in the city where people can live. Now it's time to give them somewhere to work, and that's what this industrial area, brand new industrial area, is for. So we've got this massive container terminal which has its own sort of set of warehouses and factories and things like that. I might actually make it just warehouses from now on and make it like a storage area, and then King's Industrial Estate will be where some of the factories go, where some of the heavy lifting is done, and that will be a huge job sink for the majority of the city as well. This is another little connecting road that I built that at the time seemed like a really good idea, but in hindsight was a terrible idea. I kind of like the fact with this project though that I can go back and fix things almost immediately. So I open TTD, a lot of what I'm doing at the moment is fixing mistakes of the past, which is one of the reasons why that series isn't particularly popular right now, let's say, in terms of viewing figures, because a lot of it is sort of rehashing stuff that's been done before. One of the things I like about this series is I am still doing that, but I'm doing it like an immediate scale. So right now you're seeing me build the first iteration. Next episode you'll see me build the second iteration, which in my opinion at least is a lot better. And then that's it. You know, that's the project done, and we can move on to something else. I will be adding, maybe episode after next in fact, I will be adding a cargo hub to the airport as well, because I've got the modular cargo terminal for that. So I'll be clinking that in as well, and connecting that up to the taxiways and the terminals. One of the reasons I've held off on that was because I wanted to build this area first to see what was happening with the rail links. But now that the rail links are done, I think where the hangars are at the airport currently is where the freight terminal is going to go, because it has immediate access to both runways, and it feels like a good spot for it. It's really close to the harbour as well, so there's not, You know, trains won't have to travel too far between A and B. It's quite close to the industrial area, so we might link it up to the roads too, so it can be an instant export that way. And again, in my opinion, I think it's just better. Right, you'll also see there I changed the building theme for Plint Bridge to try and get some smaller buildings. It is working. Buildings upgrade quite slowly though, so it does take a little while for things to switch over, but it is kind of working, and it will look again a little bit more realistic in the not too distant future. Last things then, just adding a quick roundabout here and using the new roundabout adding tool. So it doesn't do the lane, well, it does some of the lanes as you can see, and it does all the priorities for you, but it doesn't do all of the lanes for merging and splitting, which is kind of annoying. Maybe that's lined up for a future update, who knows. Right, yeah, we're getting very, very close to the end of the video now, so I'm going to kind of start wrapping up whilst the rest of this is playing out. Let me know what you think down below. You know, is this a good cargo terminal? I personally think it's alright. You know, it's I kind of tried to base it, and it sounds like a really bad thing to base it on, but I tried to base it on Liberty City from GTA 4, the harbour there where you first meet Roman, and kind of that kind of layout. And you know, it's pretty bog standard really. It's a harbour, isn't it? There's nothing too fancy about it. But that was kind of my main inspiration, because I spent a lot of time driving around that port, so I kind of know my way around it. But yeah, I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below. Let me know your ideas for future episodes. It's always appreciated. And head over to my Discord and my Reddit as well. You can leave your ideas there, and you can leave screenshots of your cities there too if you want. That's totally fine. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.